Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a forensic case study of a billion-dollar product launch failure that actually holds a massive, flashing warning sign for today's AI developers. We're going to look at exactly what happens when product governance completely collapses and how a totally routine $8 transaction bypassed all organizational safeguards to create, well, unprecedented market chaos.
To really understand the stakes here, we have to start with a staggering $8 to $10 billion market cap loss, represented by this 4.4% drop. That is what happened to the pharmaceutical giant Eli Lilly's stock on a single day back in November of 2022. But here's the crazy part. This wasn't caused by a failed clinical trial, and it wasn't an earnings miss.
No, this catastrophic financial drop was triggered entirely by one single fake $8 tweet. We are excited to announce insulin is now free. As reported by both Bloomberg and Reuters, that one sentence wreaked absolute havoc. So today, we're going to unpack exactly why this happened. I mean, how could one fake account trigger such massive downstream damage?
Here's our investigation brief. We've got 5 sections. Section 1, the $8 tweet. Section 2, the broken trust signal. Section 3, forensics of a failure. Section 4, the project management root cause. And finally, Section 5, future lessons for AI. Let's get into it. Section 1, the $8 tweet, November 11th, 2022.
So look really closely at the handle here. Bad actors bypassed visual scrutiny simply by using capital I's instead of lowercase l's. At a normal scrolling speed, it's literally indistinguishable from the real Eli Lilly account. But that little typo trick only worked because of one absolutely crucial element. It was attached to an account with a newly purchased Twitter blue checkmark. As documented by Reuters and Bloomberg, that little blue badge suddenly gave a simple typo the power to move global markets.
Section 2, the broken trust signal, the dangerous assumption. You know, the real error here wasn't just a deceptive handle. Fake accounts have always existed on the internet. The core failure was a fundamental misunderstanding of what that blue checkmark actually meant to the rest of the world. The launch of the new Twitter Blue was framed internally as democratizing the platform. Leadership thought the checkmark was just a status symbol, right? A premium field that anyone could buy for $8. But downstream systems didn't care about status at all. They relied on that blue checkmark strictly as an identity authentication signal. For a decade, that checkmark meant trust and safety had verified you are who you say you are. Suddenly, almost overnight, it just meant a credit card had been charged.
Because of this newly broken signal, all of these downstream dependencies were completely blindsided. As Casey Newton reported over at Platformer, financial news aggregators, stock monitoring services, automated trading alerts, they had all hard-coded the blue checkmark into their systems as an authoritative corporate source. So when the definition of the checkmark abruptly changed from identity verified to subscription paid, nobody updated those downstream systems. The bots saw a blue checkmark, saw the name Eli Lilly, and immediately alerted traders that insulin was now free.
Section 3, forensics of a failure, the 48-hour collapse. Well, let's look at the timeline, because this didn't take months to unravel, it took hours. As corroborated by The Verge and Platformer, this devastating 48-hour window from launch day to total suspension proves just how rapidly bad actors weaponized the missing identity verification. November 9th, Twitter Blue launches. By November 10th, the impersonation wave begins. By November 11th, Eli Lilly's stock drops 4.4%, and the entire subscription program is abruptly suspended. It was an immediate, ruthless exploitation of a newly opened vulnerability. And it wasn't just Eli Lilly taking a hit. Within hours, fake authenticated accounts for all these major brands, Lockheed Martin, Nintendo, Pepsi, they all just appeared out of nowhere. As The Verge documented in real time, this shows the impersonation surface was entirely foreseeable and exploited immediately. Bad actors were literally sitting there, credit cards in hand, just waiting for the exact moment they could buy authentication without identity verification. Now here is the absolute smoking gun of this explainer. As Casey Newton uncovered, the product teams actually foresaw this exact crisis. They knew removing identity checks would lead to corporate impersonation, and they actually had a mitigation strategy ready to go. They proposed a tiered system, gold checkmarks for brands and gray for governments. They had the solution figured out before the feature ever shipped. So why wasn't it implemented?
Section 4, project management root cause, the 5 why analysis.
This brings us to the core project management failure. Let's walk through this step by step. This wasn't just a team moving too fast, this was a complete structural collapse. Why were impersonators successful? Well, because identity checks were removed to scale subscriptions quickly. Why wasn't the gold checkmark tier launched simultaneously? Because it took too long to build. Why not just delay the launch? Because the launch window was rigidly set by a top-down owner directive. And finally, why didn't the system stop the launch? Because the PM governance structure completely bypassed the risk gate. A known risk mitigation was ignored simply to hit an arbitrary date on a calendar.
Ultimately, we define this as a massive product governance failure. It's that exact moment when an organizational mechanism fails to gate a launch on the completion of critical risk mitigations. They shipped a product before the necessary safety nets were actually in place, which allowed totally predictable damage to those downstream trust systems. The failure wasn't the idea itself. The failure was the governance of the rollout.
Section 5, Future Lessons for AI, 2025 and 2026 Trust Signals.
So why does the 2022 social media crisis matter so much for those of us building AI products right now? Well, because history is repeating itself. There is a chilling parallel here. Right now, AI developers are changing trust signals without warning the downstream operational teams that rely on them. Think about it. If you change what a confidence score or a verified AI badge means, say you shift it from being human-reviewed to just model-generated, and you don't aggressively communicate that shift, your downstream users are going to make automated bad decisions. You are breaking the trust signal in the exact same way the meaning of the blue checkmark was broken.
And honestly, this is the most heartbreaking part of the entire case study, backed up by internal records. The mitigation was ready. Remember, just like with this case, in AI development, your safety mitigations absolutely must be ready and gated before launch. You cannot ship a major modification to a trust signal and expect to just patch the vulnerabilities 2 days after an incident. By then, the market cap is already gone and the automated systems have already failed.
So I want to leave you with this vital, provocative question for your next project, whether you're managing a UI update or a massive AI model deployment. Before you ship, have you clearly defined the new trust contract for your users and transitioned your downstream systems safely? Or are you bypassing the risk gate and getting ready to trigger your very own 4.4% disaster? Think carefully about what your signals really mean to the people who rely on them.